Hey, this is Chuck, and you are listening to Fans with Bands, the podcast where we talk to the fans and the bands they dig about life, music, and whatever the hell else we want to talk about. Today on Fans with Bands, we're talking to Rune Sigil. Check it out. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Fret Rescue. Located in Southeast Michigan, Joe at Fret Rescue has over 17 years of experience as a journeyman luthier. From basic setup to major repairs and restorations, you can put your trust in Fret Rescue. Contact Fret Rescue via email at fretrescue@gmail.com. You can also find them on social media by searching for Fret Rescue, @FERTRESCUE. That's Fret Rescue. Hey, this is Chuck with Fans with Bands, and I'm talking to Dan, Dusty, and Grant from Rune Sigil. How you guys doing?
Great.
Awesome.
Hey, thanks for having us, Chuck.
Oh, hell yeah. I had a great time. I was looking back. It was like last year, January, when we talked for the first time, where I got to introduce to your band. And since then, you guys have been going crazy. There's like all these different shows going on, and you got the new album, Never Odd or Even, which I've been checking out, and I got to tell you guys, you've upped your game, as far as like compositions, because it's really awesome. So I definitely want to talk about that. But thank you guys again for being on.
Oh yeah, of course. Thanks for having us again.
Yeah. So the new album, Never Odd or Even, you mentioned that it's a concept album. So and you had a little blurb on Facebook about sort of like ancient philosophies being part of that. So can you kind of give me what is the concept that you were trying to cover in 13 songs? And I want to ask about that too.
Okay, sure. Well, we basically wanted to tell a story. It started with about not long after we talked, or just before we talked to you, we started working on this album about 3 months before then, writing some of the songs. And we developed this Egyptian motif when we were what was then just a jam, but ended up becoming Emerald Truth.
Oh, awesome.
The song. And we developed this motif with Tim and all of us together just jamming on this thing. And we took that motif and really, really enjoyed it so much that we really wanted to expand upon that. It's this Egyptian styled like motif in there. And it's I don't know, it's a lot of fun, and it's got a vibe to it for sure. So we took that and expanded on it, and around the same time we were getting back into like Hermeticism and ancient Egypt and things like that. So we wanted to kind of tie those themes together, not unsimilar to our EP. We took some themes from both Vikings and some Gothic themology and put it together for that album. Kind of similar here. We took some themes, but the overarching story is our own. And we tell it through these other lenses, so it's we could expand upon it more. I know he's got some things on it too.
Yeah.
It's tough to know where to start. So it's obviously, like Grant said, we had the idea that we wanted to do this Egyptian album, and at the time we were reading things like the Emerald Tablets and the Kabbalion and things that are like allegedly linked to ancient Egypt, to try to get in the mindset of like, okay, well, what were these people thinking back then?
Right.
There's some cool stuff in there, and there's like, oh man, this is actually just universally applicable. That's easy to fit in, right? And so we got to kind of use a bunch of those kind of lessons that we learned and put them through that lens of like the Egyptian philosophy a little bit. That's what it's supposed to be, at least.
And we played, another big part of it is playing with numerology itself.
Cool.
in those lenses, and a little bit of sacred geometry we threw in there and things like that. So playing with the number 13, playing with the numbers 3, 5, and 7 a lot on the album. I think you'll probably notice there's a lot of that going on, a lot of 3, 5, 7 rotations.
Yeah.
We really kind of went off on that a lot and had a lot of fun with it. And we used that motif. The motif starts on the album on the 3rd track, technically.
Okay. And
it goes throughout after that. You'll hear it in every one of the songs at that point on the album, and it's pretty wild. And there's also kind of the duality of the of man. There's feminine and masculine dynamics to every character, and it kind of covers a lot of that. That's why Allie's on the first half of the album only. That's another big part of it, was the pyramid idea. We were looking at the concept of like almost like a mirror where everything kind of leads towards the center point on the album. and it builds up and comes back down. That center point being Emerald Truth.
Nice,
So
nice. So,
yeah.
so how did you guys get like? How did you develop the interest into those themes? Have you had that like throughout your life,
Well,
or was it something recent?
we've been into the occult and things like that for a very long time. Me a little bit longer than Dan, but Dan, as long as we've been in the band together, for sure.
Yeah, well, I've always had an interest in philosophy and reading stuff like that. Anyways, it was some topics we could agree on.
Sure. Yeah, 100%. And we had fun with it too. You know,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of conspiracies and all kinds of things that, especially with the art and things we kind of lead into. There's a lot of little Easter eggs, so to speak, on the album cover if you really look hard enough that are kind of fun.
There's a lot of Easter eggs throughout the album. If you want to find them, there's a lot of things hidden in there. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, speaking of the album, because I was looking on Bandcamp, is it physically? Because I couldn't find it out there, and was I just like looking?
Okay, so yeah, we do have physical copies right now. They're only available at the show.
Okay.
But you can message us, and we'll send one to you.
Okay.
We put up a post about it before. We need to get our Bandcamp straightened out pretty soon, honestly. But yeah, we do have physical copies of the album.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the reason I was asking because I was thinking of like the Easter eggs and just album art in general and the whole thing. You can embed those inside the music, but you can also have them like the visuals, like you were talking about.
Yeah. It's fun.
Do you
had
have
a lot of fun putting the art together?
Yeah. So when you were thinking of that, were there any other like albums that had been in your past that you thought like this kind of ties into that, or
100%?
I want to do my own riff on that.
The first one that comes to mind is Lateralis album by Tool is the very first one that comes to mind.
Yeah, at least in my head, I wasn't shooting for anything, but then listening to some of it was like, all right, listen to Lateralis, a month before we released the album, and I was like, oh man, this is actually
very
similar. There's some cool parallels in there.
Yeah, it is. Well, I was gonna ask you like, as far as like the songwriting for this album, that like you said, there you have Allie and there you have the male and persona, but there's I mean obviously I shouldn't say obviously she's not in the band, so how does that translate actually, live?
Well, she's played several shows with us. She played with us for a little over, not every show, but she played quite a few shows with us over the period of about a year and a half.
Yeah.
So on what'd you say, Dusty?
I was saying she's a repeat featuring artist for us.
Yeah. So she didn't write any of the music on the album. She helped. Like Dan wrote most of the lyrics to the song she sang, except for she helped on Mad Alchemy, the song Mad Alchemy, a little bit, writing lyrics. But apart from that, we wrote most of the parts and we kind of had ideas that we bounced off her that she was game to come in and lay down in the studio.
Nice.
And she did a great job. It was a lot of fun. There's a fun story. It's a really fun story about it too. Dan, we have a couple between every song. There's an interlude. Was another thing that's really cool about the album. We had a lot of fun putting together. And on one of them, the song starts with birds squawking, and they're not birds. It's Allie. And what? Dan got her in the studio one day, and he was like, "All right, I need you to make bird noises." But even that, she did great at it. I mean, everything really, truly did a great job.
Yeah, if I can indulge about those, tracks a little bit. Those are not only do I like tracks like that, like Pink Floyd and Tool and some other bands put out,
for sure.
But they're so much fun to put together. The way that we did these ones for the most part was the people, like everyone performing didn't know what it was going to sound like at all as a whole. No one got to hear each other's parts. And I took two of them and Grant took two of them, just coaching people through like scenes that we had in our head. And that's always a lot of fun because just turn to someone like, all right, sound like a machine that's breaking. Right. And then my favorite thing is always the look back after I asked them to do this ridiculous thing, and they're like, what? And I'm like, like something like this or something, and they're like, and then they just do it perfectly or something way better than I had imagined, right?
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. And there was another track on there too that we all kind of did together. So like you said, we each took two of the noise tracks, and there's another one on there that's we all kind of contributed on putting together and for that's the Mirage.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, which is just heavily featuring the motif of the album at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of featured artists, Daniel Decker was another featured guitar player on
Yeah, I
the
saw
album.
that. Yeah.
He played on Fever Dreams and
He's on a couple of the interludes.
of the interludes as well. Yeah, and he did a great job. And Dan got him in there making machine noises and stuff on one of those tracks. He did a great job at coming up with the solo on the spot too for Fever Dreams was really fantastic.
Right.
So I want to shout out to him too and his band today at the station. They're cooking up some new things now too, which is cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, very cool. So, did you guys have this kind of mapped out? I mean, you mentioned that, like, Emerald was the seed and the top of the pyramid, but
So we knew that there was the tracks 3, 5, and 7 were going to be the glue, like the main focus points.
right.
We knew that that ninth track was going to be with it wasn't called Resistance initially, and it sounded nothing like it sounds, and that was a completely different. I mean, completely different song, and it had the working title "Full Steam Ahead." And the only concept for that song was it needed to come in hot, hard, and heavy, and do its thing and be the most intense part of the album. Uh, and it changed. We had a plan the whole time, 100%. We knew we expanded upon it. It was going to be 11 tracks, and that was before winter. And we decided to expand on it a little bit more, and we split some of the things up and redid some ideas. We scrapped the Full Steam Ahead thing entirely, and Resistance is one of people's favorite tracks in the album, and that
Dude,
one's
that
almost
song is awesome.
that's really cool. It's a really unique song that Tristan and Alexander mostly wrote. They wrote most of the music to that song. Me and Dan put together the lyrics. Dan wrote most of the lyrics. Actually, Dan wrote the lyrics to that song. I gave him like a story, a concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gave me an impossible concept to somehow put lyrics to.
But he did. He knocks it out of the park. So I gave him a story and a character arc and things, and he put it together, and yeah, it slams. So
Yeah.
shout out to both Tristan and Alexander. That they wrote some killer riffs. Tristan wrote the opening riff or the chorus
Yeah.
riff, and Alexander wrote the verse riffs. And they went together beautifully. We did it in our living room, and like in like 2 hours, we're all sitting together with a dry erase board and put it together.
Oh man.
Right.
Well, you know,
Killer.
it really dovetails because I was going to say, like, the two favorite tracks are Emerald Truth and Resistance, but they really dovetail in well together.
Yeah, they're kind of connected. Emerald Truth ends. It goes into that Rectify, which is that drum solo-esque track, and that goes right into Resistance. Yeah,
Yeah.
they kind of meld. Yeah, it's intentional.
Awesome.
But
That's
it's
awesome.
Fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Tristan sings on that song too. He sings it's like we took like a ZZ Top kind of approach where I do the first word in each line and he follows up with the rest of the line, and it sounds really fun. It's
Yeah.
something unique we haven't done.
So, we've kind of touched on some of the points of the songwriting, but how do you feel that how this album has changed from the prior, the EP in terms of your songwriting approach?
A whole bunch of ways. The EP was not that the EP was bad or anything, but it's like 7 Seal and 13.
Bathed in Bliss.
Sorry, I used to call it 13. Bathed in Bliss and 7 Seal. They were like ground up things. Like you're teaching yourself how to do things in a song,
Mm-hmm.
like 'cause you don't know how to do them yet.
Yeah.
Like playing an on-time signature. So that first album, we wrote songs to teach us how to do the tricks. And now we know how to do the tricks, and we're having a little bit more fun with it, I would say. And beyond that, the collaboration aspect to it.
Yeah.
Alexander and Tristan were both really great. So me and Dan are really good at coming up with like a structure and a skeleton, and they were really good at coming in and making some adjustments and adding bridges in certain places, or make just really brilliant suggestions that help bring the things home. Your Crusade on that album is another really one of our favorite pieces on it, and that's another really like a good example of all of us collaborating evenly on a track, and it just comes out beautiful. You know what I mean? So that a lot of the tracks on there are just it's a good meshing of creative energies.
Yeah. Something else related to the new album that I was wondering is, related to that songwriting, but also like you were working with Paul Smith to do recording.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So was he primarily acting as an engineer, or was he doing some
No.
production, or?
Both.
He was doing everything.
Oh yeah, this album is largely sounds the way it does because of him.
He's a madman and a wizard.
100%.
And it was, I think, I don't know if I just think we got to give him some unique challenges for sure. And
he gave us a lot of really unique insight.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was a really great person to work with in general. And I don't know, there's some things that he let us do that I don't know if we'd be able to do anywhere else. Like we went in and we said, okay, here's what we want for the this guitar tone.
Yeah.
And he'd say, okay, and he'd like pull out the exact cab and amp that I said, right? And I was
Oh,
like,
really?
oh, like Zeppelin 2. And he's like, this is literally what they use on Zeppelin 2. And I was like,
No
oh,
way.
okay.
Yeah.
Right, we get in there.
Every
they get
song.
tuned, we start playing on it, and he's like, nope. And he like goes and like changes out the cab for something else, and then it sounds perfect.
Well,
right?
another thing we went into kind of knowing we were going to do was kind of let him be a little bit let him do his thing too and have fun on that end, where it's like each song honestly has a totally different setup. Like there's different hardware for the recording process on almost every single song.
Oh, right.
And it's really, really, really fun. There's a lot of, I mean, I could go on for days about really unique things about how the recording process, because it's so unique. Every song is different.
That's
You know,
cool.
Your Crusade had a custom built amp head that Paul built a long time ago. You can't he built it. So
Yeah.
and the tone is incredible. Dan played on 2 different drum kits to record that song.
Man.
So yeah, I mean, he's a madman just like we are. It's fun working with him.
How did you know him before?
No, we met him through our buddies Aaron Starzak and Dan Decker.
Okay.
They both have been recording there, and Decker's band Today at the Station had just recorded there like 5 months before we did.
Oh, awesome.
And Aaron Starzak's band Last Call in Jonestown is still working on their album with him now.
Nice.
So,
Very
yeah.
nice. Yeah, I mean,
He does a great job.
I only know him through his band. I didn't even know.
Oh, the Strains.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
also kind of popping off right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We just saw them at
Yeah, we got
Bolero.
to see them. Was it last week?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago at Bolero. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
They
yeah.
ripped. It's like they having the time of their lives.
A buddy of mine, Tim Meeks, had seen them. I don't know where, but maybe somewhere in Corktown. He goes, "Dude, you got to check these guys out." And so then I think they played might have been Fuzzfest last year or something. I don't know. I went and saw them. I was like, "Holy shit, these guys are fucking good, man! God damn,
Yeah.
Awesome." So that had to be like you guys had to feel like kids in the candy store then, as far as like just
man.
being able to-
100%.
100%.
That is awesome.
It really was. I mean, like that part of it was the most fun. Like being able to go in there and like, how are we going to approach this song with the tones?
Yeah.
You know, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? You know, there's just certainly stress behind making an album. It took
Yeah.
a long time to put together, and that stuff's but all that goes together makes it what it is. It's a super emotional roller coaster. You know what I mean? And it's our story at the same time, so it means a lot to us.
So how do you guys keep from going down the rabbit hole of like constantly tweaking things then if you're in a situation
I cut
like
us
that?
off. I cut us off 100%.
I was going to say, because somebody has to rein it in, because otherwise you could just go
Fortunately.
nuts and spend the rest of your life fucking with it.
I'm guilty of it too, and we learned. Didn't do that the first time. We both learned on the EP. Because Mike Latcha recorded that for us, the EP, and he did a great job. But we were learning, and we wanted to do it all ourselves. You know what I mean? The mixing and stuff. So he took all the raw files and went into the basement and put. I don't even want to talk about how much time together, ungodly amounts of time working on that. We realized like, hey, why don't we just like trust somebody who's good at their craft, and let's find the guy who works well with us and do it that way instead.
Yeah, nice.
So there's definitely a lot of that, and
That being said,
not just me cutting off too, but I got to give a lot of credit to Paul, because there a lot of times Paul checked both of us where we hit roadblocks, and it was like, no, you guys are overthinking the shit out of it.
he would be like, okay, I'm getting frustrated spending 20 minutes on this. We're doing it like this.
The song in particular I'm thinking about is Your Crusade, that we hit a roadblock with how to deliver. Like the lyrics were written, but it was how to deliver them vocally at the end of the song. we went back and forth, like you wouldn't believe over this one thing.
Both of our melodies were bad at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then neither of us was willing to let the other bad melody go in.
Yeah.
And Paul was like, why don't you just do it like this? And we're like,
Immediately one had it right away. It was great.
I remember just being like, could you please do that again exactly the way you just did?
Well, that's
Yes.
good. To have that kind of like third party, like non-biased opinion kind of look at things, right?
Definitely.
That's one of the biggest things that's different about the album across the board is there's all kinds of extra voicings.
Yeah.
And some of it was fought for, and we had to work things out, you know what I mean? But some of it was just like, you know what, actually this person is just, they know what's going on. We have to trust their process. And it's happened a couple times in the album, and it really worked out for the best.
Yeah.
Like the solos on Your Crusade too, like Tristan, we just kind of like told Tristan, like, hey man, you just go for it, whatever it is. We didn't even really just do your thing here.
Yeah. Nice.
And he delivered gold. He delivered gold all over that album. He did great work on it. Everybody did, man. Alexander too. There's a bunch of key thing, like really key moments, no pun intended, that were just really phenomenal. As far as like both like in the writing process and then in the studio. Resistance, he hadn't rehearsed anything for that song. We were already in the studio and we were like, man, we're kind of behind on recording. Can I convince you to just take a crack at this? It's like I'm pretty sure it's like his first or second take raw without preparing, and it sounds awesome. And Paul was like, God damn, we're keeping that. I don't care. And it sounded wicked. He did a great job. So
that's fantastic. Awesome. Hey, we have a fan, Fuzzy Miller.
Oh,
hey,
heck
Fuzzy.
yeah. What's up, man?
Fuzzy, are you there? I see you were open and now you're showing as muted.
Yeah, sorry, I'm at work, so I can't really talk too much. So,
All
how's it going, guys?
Well, thanks for tuning in, man.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining, Fuzzy.
Absolutely.
So I was going to ask you, like, when you were talking about the contributions and the collaborations, I have to, and then just all the things that had changed in the songwriting makes me think that you definitely, and you mentioned that you guys are like very much into trying to learn these things and be, expand your knowledge. So was there any like big takeaways when you were working on this album that you said, oh man, this is something I really wanted to understand it and now I know it better?
Oh, dude, honestly, got a whole bunch.
EQing toms.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That was something I did not have at all figured out. And I remember just going in, be like, how do these sound so good? Just be like, wait, can I just watch you twist the knobs? Right? Like, can I just but
yeah, actually working with Paul, like the list is I could probably go on and on about the things I could take away from working on this album. But beyond that, no, in the writing process, the give and take is something that's learned through like working at it. You know what I mean? Through like begrudgingly now, like you want to protect your pieces of your emotion. You know what I mean? Your creation. So working with other people and getting to those sweet spots, and getting to them better is always a learning process that I can appreciate and always take away something great from.
Nice.
And the album itself, we learned how to do a bunch of different things, musically speaking, from working with Tristan and Alexander. They're both pretty heavily classically trained musicians. So I am not personally. I play from emotion and feel for the most part, self-taught across the board. So I picked up a whole bunch of things with playing with those guys. Again, I can go on and on with a list probably. To be honest, you're around people that are good at something or that are as passionate as you are at a thing, and you rubs off on each other, So I could go on and on about that for sure.
Dusty, how about you? Any big takeaways from the whole recording process?
I'm actually pretty critical in certain things. Like I'm all by ear. I'm really self-taught in what I do. So I learned by this process that to not be as critical, because if you overthink it, you're going to screw up from it.
Yeah.
You give yourself anxiety. So what I learned, and that is like by working with everyone, getting the different perspectives and figuring out how the mesh works and getting each other's opinions and not like sabotaging your own mind.
Yeah.
So I'd say just, taking it easy and remembering that you're learning as well as making something new,
Yeah. Well, that's a tough thing to learn, really, and to like stay conscious of, because you do like, you were saying that you get somewhat protective of some of those things, or you just feel like, myself personally, sometimes just like, fuck, I should be better and I'm not, and then you realize like, just don't be so hard on yourself, really. You're doing something
Yeah.
creative that most people won't do, right? They won't take that chance. You guys are taking that chance to do that things, to be creative, put yourselves out there. So yeah, definitely, it's cool to just kind of relax and step back and go, yeah, this is what we do.
That's
Right.
another thing I definitely could say take away is that we're definitely gonna take a break for a little bit from studio time, like real studio time anyway, and
Yeah.
get a little bit creative again. Our next whatever we do next as an album, it definitely will not be a concept album. We're going to take a break from that for a second because there's so many rules involved in writing a concept album.
Oh, for sure.
You can't break the rules, so it kind of boxes you in a little bit. And while it's a really fun experience, unless there's something that really is going to reach out and grab me again, I think I'm going to steer away from that. Like we always have loose aesthetics that'll connect an album or something, but that's a different story altogether, in my opinion.
Right. So do you get I mentioned that my favorite tracks are Emerald Truth and Resistance. For each of you, what is your favorite track on the new album, and what is it about that song that makes it stand out above the rest? And that's, I know, a hard question because you probably got, they're all fucking awesome.
I got my answer.
All right.
My favorite song is Emerald Truth, for a couple of reasons. One, the vocal approach that we took on it, like it was genuine, like none of it was forced, or none of it felt forced. It sounds to me like us, from the vocal perspective, for one thing. It's got all of the elements that I like in the prog department. There's some twisty, windy riffs in there that are fun to play, and I like listening to that stuff too. And I don't know, the guitar solo in it kind of melts my brain. So, like, especially if you listen to it with headphones, because when we recorded that song, we had another happy accident where like Tristan recorded a take, like a full take lead on the song, and he went to go do his second take, and Paul accidentally kept the first one running, right? So he recorded to himself, basically, like the exact same part. And Tristan's a really tight player. So they only deviated slightly on like bends and things, maybe.
So the whole song has both takes.
Yeah, we end up just keeping both of them. So there's like a really subtle effect that the pitches are just a tiny bit off from each other in certain parts, and they lock back up, and it I like what that does to my head.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, you go ahead, Dusty.
God. Honestly, I would have to say mine is also probably Emerald Truth, to be honest. Primarily the fun of playing that one for me. I get to riff on the doom deck a little more. It's pretty much the most action I get with that drum, and I literally bought the drum for that song. So and the whole like Egyptian motif throughout, like the guitars shred so wonderfully. I like how the entire rhythm progresses. Honestly, purely for the fun, the room it gives me in that time. To be honest, is one of the reasons I like it. Plus the feeling, you can almost see the pyramids in your mind as you're going under like a green aurora borealis.
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh man.
Grant, how about you?
Well, for me, it's easy to say Emerald Truth because there's a reason it's the peak. It's the tip of the pyramid of the album.
You guys say another one then.
I'm definitely going. For me, it's a split decision because I think Your Crusade, as far as writers and artists, is one of our like probably best pieces we've put together, in my opinion, and it's just really powerful.
Yeah,
I really like it a lot. It's emotional for me to listen to it even. But I from my personal perspective, I really Mad Alchemy has a soft spot I have a soft spot for it because I was working at I was pulling a pallet behind me, and the riff, that 7 stab riff, the breakdown section in the middle, is literally the is like the tempo to me. My march pulling a pallet jack behind me. And there's like really
Awesome.
really fun things like that in the writing process of that song, and it's another powerful thing. And it's fun hearing Dan bounce back with Allie, and yeah. But I do love performing Emerald Truth. Like Dan said, the vocals. It's one of the first songs I sing all the way through on stage, and it's going to be it's just fun.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. So, last time we talked about like, what got you into music and your influences, but I'm curious, like, now as to like, what's keeping you in it? What's motivating you to want to do more music, to continue to do what you're doing? Start
I've
with
got a maybe
Dan.
too lofty answer for that. I don't know. I personally realize that like that's what I want to do, right? It's what I enjoy doing, and I try to do things that I enjoy, right? I want to
Right.
have a good time while I'm living. The thing I love doing most is drumming and writing music. So like I'm just probably just gonna be doing that, right?
Yeah.
We got a song on the album about this. called Your Crusade.
That's fair.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like alive or connected or anything unless I'm doing this in some capacity. So like it's part of me. Can't imagine not doing it.
Nice. Dusty,
I
how about
will
you?
say that has shifted a little bit for me because I definitely like I had in my head like I gotta prove to everyone that I'm great, right? I
Oh
gotta
yeah.
show people how I can play fast things on drums, right, or whatever. And now I'm like in my head, I just want to do things that are cool for me to do or exciting for me to do, and that usually includes like trying new things and pushing my limits or whatever. But it's not to prove anything. It's just because like, hey, look at this cool thing that I found out.
Yeah.
I'm just having a good time with it. And it's
Awesome.
definitely been a lot better approach, at least for inside my own head. I'm having a lot better time with it.
Awesome. Dusty, how about you?
To be honest, I've been doing music since I was 4 years old. Honestly, could not live life any other way. It's part of who I am. I will never be able to stop it, even if I want to. And I've tried, and I always I am this way no matter what.
Yeah. It's funny how once you get into it, like even if you get burned out, take a break from it, it still seeps back in, you can't help yourself really.
Yeah, I mean, everyone experiences burnout. We were certainly there when by the time the album finally came out. By the time the album release show came around, we were all like, like pretty much exhausted. But
Right.
with the shift in the guard and the band and the way things are moving right now, it's kind of like a shot of rejuvenating energy. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so our approach right now is literally like have fun and get back into doing this for why you did it kind of vibes. And we're having a lot of fun. We wrote some new material already, a couple
Awesome.
months.
Awesome.
Just kind of happened, and it's fun.
Nice.
We're working with Zeros and One Studios with a different producer, just to experiment and have fun. And the guy is awesome. He's incredible.
Yeah, it's Kyler Miller.
Yeah, from Zeros and One Studios, and
Cool.
we've been putting together a new live jam album for some time since we've been working on this one. Even we always kind of have something else ready to go by the time
Yeah.
the other one comes out, and we got a 9-track live jam album that we're putting together, and
Nice.
it should be fun. I'm looking forward to that coming out, and it's got 3 tracks on it with the old guard with Tristan and Alexander. And the videos for those 3 songs are already up on YouTube. They've been up for a while. You can check them out. They're really cool.
Yeah, Kyler does like an audio tree type of thing, where he's does live recordings of everyone playing too with cool lights. So if you haven't checked that out and anyone listens to this, I would definitely check it out.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be sure to put the link into the show notes. I think I saw one of those, but I'm blanking out on the name because I remember seeing this video. When do those come out? Like,
they don't come. You might be there's a couple people doing. There's Oxide Sessions too. They have their things that are really good too. But they're random. It's when he gets somebody to come in to do it when they want to release it.
Okay.
He's worked with a few bands now. And they all look good, sound good. Like I said, he's a really good producer, and
Nice.
he does a great job. He's really fast and thorough, and goes into the tunnel just like we do. Comes out the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that live jam album gonna have 9 tracks. There'll be a cover on it for the first time.
Oh, wow.
which will be fun. Yeah, it'll feature 3 songs with Tristan and Alexander from before, and then there'll be a couple songs with Tim, and then a few songs with Tim and Kevin.
I don't think we mentioned Kevin yet.
Yeah, no,
Kevin, I used to play with him a bit when I was in the band Black Heron. He's a guitar player. Stage name is Shredula. He's a great dude. He's one of my pals, and we another cool thing about shifting up lineups is that we had an opportunity to work with a bunch of people, right? So we got to
Yeah.
play with a bunch of people and see how they vibe.
Yeah, we tried a bunch of guitar players out too. It was a lot of fun, and they were all great.
Yeah, not to discredit anybody. There wasn't anyone that showed up that we were like, okay, this guy's actually terrible, right? Like it was.
No, they were all great.
Right.
They were all great, even.
Yeah.
And Kevin was real excited to play with us and vibed with us really well immediately. That's one of the things is for everyone we brought in, we'd say, okay, we're just gonna play, right? We're just gonna jam. Let's have fun.
Right.
And he took to that. He vibed with us really easily, and so I was like, okay, I think this one will be easy to fit in with Tim because Tim's really good at listening and being an interactive player too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Having the two of them together has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we got to rework some of our older songs and add second guitar lines to them, and
Oh, cool.
been jamming some stuff off the new album, and again, we got some new jams. And
Yeah.
looking forward to rocking it all out tomorrow night for the first time on stage with the new squad. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Nice. Very nice. And so is Kevin going to be involved in the live track jams you're doing?
Yeah, he's gonna be on I think 3 or 4 of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so when's that going to be like available?
I would look for it. If I'm being honest, I would look for probably early fall,
Okay.
mid fall, sometime in
Awesome.
there. No promises, but it'll be coming out this year.
Nice. Very
Yeah.
nice. Very nice. So I know we've talked before about like first albums and that kind of stuff, but sort of in that vein a little bit, if you were going to try to describe your band to somebody using 3 albums that people would be familiar with, what would those albums be?
Good Lord.
Who wants to go first?
Probably one of the Tool albums. Trying to think. There's a bunch of Mastodon elements in this one, so there might be.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say definitely. There's
Yeah.
Mastodon elements in Emerald Truth for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I would say probably Mastodon, some Mastodon. Seeing an album is so specific too. I definitely the Lateralis album by Tool is heavily, like, I would say that's probably a good album to take for sure. It's weird too because the albums have such different vibes because of the voicings on them. The early stuff is very Sabbath friendly sounding, and in the second album is got more Rush sounding elements even to it and things like that. So man, I don't know.
if I had to pick the worst place to start, if you picked I don't know, I'm not a deep enough Rush fan to pick out the right album, but there's probably one of those, probably a Mastodon album, Lateralis.
So I'll throw out one that I was thinking of when I was
Sure.
listening to your album is that the new album
Okay.
is like a heavy Kansas.
Oh, dude, that's actually funny.
I think
We listened to a lot of Kansas, and that was a target band for sounds when we were working on the album. That makes sense.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Left Overture. I was like,
Yeah.
there's elements here that it's not
Oh.
it's not dead on at all, but there's pieces that feel like it.
That's Alexander 100% for you, without question. I mean, we talked about those things though with him when we were working on stuff, like because he was, experimenting too. I think this is the first band he was in with keys, right? Yeah, I mean, he did solos. He did solo shows where he played guitar and keys together and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's his first project, like being in a band and adding those elements. And it's not easy. You know what I mean? Especially when the frequency range on a synth is insane, and trying to find the balance for that in a live show, especially, is insanely hard.
Yeah, and Grant uses a specific frequency range to play, and that's a little unusual too. So there's, we had to be creative with like, okay, where's the EQ gaps, right? So how do we adjust the tone so that everything layers the way we want it to?
Yeah, but a lot of that, yeah, the Kansas reference, I definitely would say, because we were joking and listening to "Carry On My Wayward Son" and a few other songs off that exact album, joking around, and we're like, man, I can hear these influences in here, especially on songs like "Your Crusade," and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
honestly, the keys on "Live on No Evil" are kind of wild too.
yeah.
That's a fun song.
Yeah, "Live on No Evil" I've got a soft spot for because I think it's like the most unique song is what I would say on the album. I think it's like the most us of any of them. It's pretty wonky, in a good way,
Yeah.
in like our way. Like all the time signatures are sideways. It's like a bunch of spirals. Like the song itself is like a shape. Uh, so
Yeah,
I,
it's like a shape.
I had a lot of fun working on that one too.
Awesome. So, this podcast will come out on August 7th. So
Oh,
we got
cool.
got a little time. But what's any shows or anything, past in August that or other events you
After
want to
that,
share?
after that we have after August 7th, August 16th, we're playing Old Miami with Queen Jane, New Relatives. I can't remember the fourth band. There's another band too. I have to look it up.
Cool.
And Fuzz Fest, which was just announced.
I
We're
know.
playing
I saw
Thursday.
that. I finally
Thursday,
get to
August
see you guys.
22nd. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're pumped about that for sure.
Yeah, Thursday
Then
night.
yeah,
Hell
yeah. We're
yes.
excited. We're
Yeah.
very, very excited about that. We got some fun tricks in our bag for that show too.
It's much better than playing Saturday night, and I'll tell you why. Because you get because for us diehards, there's a few people that will go every day, and by
Yeah.
Saturday night, you're like, "Fuck, is this gonna be over soon?" I mean, I hate,
all 3 days have great lineups, man.
yeah,
They just stacked
Mhm.
event.
yeah.
It's
But when it's
very
like,
excited to be part of it.
12, 1 o'clock in the morning, you're like, "Fuck, I've been up for hours and hours." You're like, "All right, yeah." But that's me. I'm old. So.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fun.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
we're
playing
excited.
we're playing Parts and Labor September 14th
nice.
as well with Angel of Mars and Clean, and that's going to be fun too.
Oh yeah, love Angel of Mars. And I've
Yeah,
heard
those
good
guys are
things about
awesome.
Clean, but I haven't seen them yet. So
Man, we jammed them a couple times. Those guys are super cool and lots of fun.
Yeah,
So,
we actually got to see them last week too.
Yeah.
At Corktown.
yeah, they were playing with Dunamis. Dunamis kicks ass too. They're awesome.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
So if you guys could go anywhere to do a show, where would you
East is
go?
easy. New Orleans.
New Orleans. All right.
Yeah.
Any particular venue, and why
No.
New Orleans?
But I'm talking right now because to me it's like that's where my goal. I'm looking at short midterm. I want to go down
Yeah.
there right now. It doesn't matter where. Do a mini tour. Do a mini tour. Go down there and play.
Awesome.
In fact, it's on the docket.
If I could
Excellent.
pick anywhere, I would pick in front of the Sphinx or Brazil.
Yeah, no, that's actually a heavy influence too. Is that Grateful Dead show in Egypt,
Oh. Or
1978?
the Pompeii show
No,
No.
the Egypt one in Cairo.
in Cairo. Oh yeah.
Yeah, 1978. That exact performance though is a huge influence, especially to this album.
Oh, awesome.
So
Awesome.
yeah, weird. And I mean, the album doesn't sound anything like Grateful Dead. It was just an inspiration,
Yeah, we're like Grateful Dead except for any of the way anything sounds.
Oh man, no, you might have to unpack that one for me sometime. What the fuck? How can those two things be similar? But
Oh man.
Dusty, how about you? Where would you like to play?
I think it's been done by a lot of European bands, but I think it'd be fun to either play Easter Island or Stonehenge.
Oh yeah, that would be very cool. Very cool. Yeah, hell yeah.
Or that pyramid in I think it's New Mexico, Taos Mountain. No,
Ah.
I take it back. Taos Mountain.
Nice. Yeah, that would be cool. And it would be doable. As far
That's a
as
very Dusty answer.
Yeah, I think your answer is the outlier, and that yours doesn't involve a pyramid.
I need to get back to New Orleans, man. I don't know what to say.
Maybe they just need a pyramid in New Orleans, dude.
Right. Well, they do have the above ground cemeteries, so that might be something.
Yeah.
Play the crap.
So I was gonna ask you, like, related to shows, any kind of rituals that you have to do, things that you have to prepare to do to play live?
Do you mean like the day of the show?
Yeah, yeah, something you got to do. Like just every time I play, I don't know, drink a beer, fucking
Oh yeah. Well,
walk
we
around.
don't really drink anymore. Not really big drinkers.
Yeah,
It's pretty
it's
rare.
not easy to play prog music when you're drunk.
Hell
Yeah.
no. Yeah.
No, we were in like a few bands before this where it was kind of almost the opposite kind of approach, you know. So it was you were drinking on stage for sure. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's yeah, it's an interesting one. Not really. I mean, again, we kind of like that's one of the things we look forward to the most. Probably it's like, you know, everything else in our lives is like, man, it's like just stuff we have to do to get to the next thing we can do for this. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's kind of the opposite. We have to go through rituals to do like the mundane things. Yeah.
Yeah, the leaps and bounds that we go through are like going to work.
Yeah.
The shows are usually the fun stuff, but we like, I don't know,
we grind. We
Grant's gotten a pretty good organizational system for getting all of our stuff places. So we always have like an organizing
I mean, I have a
time
routine
and
for
a
sure where I
load
break
in.
things down.
But
Yeah.
to play, I don't know. I usually just make sure I have a bunch of caffeine, like water.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make sure
Dusty?
we sleep and eat, you know.
Yeah, that's the big thing. It's like don't forget to like eat.
Yeah, yeah, hell yeah. Man.
Especially the day of and day before. But nothing too crazy.
Nice. Dusty,
We're
anything
getting older
special for you?
ourselves, gotta take our vitamins.
Right. Every day. My routine at this point, when it comes to before we play a show at the show, is I check on everyone usually a couple hours beforehand, make sure that everyone has eaten. If not, I usually make sure we have food.
Nice.
And that we have everything we're gonna need. That's about it.
Awesome. Awesome. So guys, I want to thank you so much for being on Fans with Bands. I've got one last question for you.
Sure.
Nuts or no nuts in brownies?
I'll take it or leave it. I don't either way. Either way.
I'm gonna say no nuts in general. Not that I'm
Who's
not
gonna
that I'm
turn
a
down a
hater.
brownie, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would take it with nuts, right?
Yeah.
How about you, Chuck?
You know, I'd actually prefer like if they have walnuts.
Oh,
All right.
oh, heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
More protein and stuff in there.
Yeah, hell yeah.
A little
I mean,
crunch,
just
texture.
a little the texture. You know, you know, my wife will tell you, I fucking have an addiction to like, you know, salted peanuts and fucking almonds, and it's like fucking. She's like, how many fucking you know bags of nuts can you eat? And I'm like, I think I'm a squirrel. I don't know. It's
There's been a couple times in my life I was like, you know what? I feel like if I just had nuts and berries, I'd be fine. Like I think people did that for a long time. I feel like I could get away with that.
Like, hell yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, there are some times when I'm just like, all right, that's all I want, really, you know? And I do like berries too. Yeah.
If I can, I like to shout out just a couple bands that we've
Fuck
been working
yeah,
with,
go for it.
collaborating with. I want to shout out Forge of the Sun, obviously, Tristan and Allie. Allie's other project, Sharp Lives. Tim's side project, Lily Bones. What else is there? What am I missing? Dan Decker's other band, Today at the Station again. Like Dunamis, Clean. Anybody else?
I'm real bad with proper nouns.
Anyway, just support local music.
Yeah,
That's
hell
at the end
yeah.
of the day, really.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, that's what it's all about, really, is like, you know, as you guys mentioned, you know, you're doing what you love, and supporting other people and being uplifting to those folks. So I think it's really cool that you were shouting out those bands because it's a team event, really, right? If we're all doing the
Absolutely,
same
yeah.
things, you know, we're all trying to do things that are hopefully positive, hopefully uplifting for the scenes we care about and the things we care about, right? So
Yeah.
if you know you're not pushing your band, then you're pushing some other band, and it's all great music because I think it's another good point you bring up is that local music tends to get kind of overlooked. You know, when you know there's there seems to be like a little bit of a factory of music, but it's always like background music. Somebody wants a cover band or something like this that does this, but um, or they get like locked into music they listened to when they were 16 and they forget that there's still music going on and people experimenting and building on all this huge foundation of all these different genres we got, right?
Yeah.
And all these bands that we love, and everybody's kind of taking their own stab at it, and it comes out to be super unique and interesting, like you guys are doing. And it's fun, it's like so cool to be able to just experience all that. So very cool.
Yeah, Grant put together a playlist not too long ago that was just music from the Detroit scene that's come out this year.
Oh, nice.
And there was a lot. There's been a lot of really good music coming out, especially this year. So there's definitely a lot of people that care that are going gung ho, and it's great to be a part of it.
I've seen you listening to the albums too, Chuck. The Temple of the Fuzzwitch album that came out.
Oh yeah, I love that.
There's just so many good bangers that came out. The Glass Chimera album, the Lily Drums album that came out, that Tim's Other Band's album. It's all good. It's all great.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I I love it when there's some vinyl in the mix, because then you're like, oh, it's so good. I mean, I love digital stuff's fine, and it's probably how I listen to most of the music, because I'm either going on a walk or in the car or whatever. You can't spin vinyl there. But when I'm working here and I'm doing some writing and stuff, it's so great to be able to grab an album and, I've got some favorites, but then you got some local stuff, you can throw in some Lucid Furs and shit or whatever.
Oh yeah, heck yeah.
Speaking of that, do you know the band Sonic Smut?
Yes, I just talked to those guys.
That's another one, dude. Another great album.
They have a vinyl out.
Yeah, I think
that's what made me think of that. But
I bought the digital version. I am trying to remember if I ordered that one. It's kind of funny because again, my wife will go, "What that?" We go to the mail. We go for a walk every day, and we stop at the mailbox and maybe once a week there's some vinyl in there. She's like, "Oh, another record," And I'm like, and I'm like, half the time I don't like because sometimes pre-orders. Like I just got Chris DuPont, who's a local. I want to say folk, but it's not really folk. It's more, I don't know how to properly describe it, but he's a great guitarist, and him and Kylie Phillips, they're doing this duo thing. Anyway, just got their album. I forgot I ordered it, because it took them a while to get the vinyl in. I was like, oh shit, here it is, so.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, well guys, thanks again for being on Fans with Bands. I really appreciate it.
Heck yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Chuck.
All right. Take care, guys.
Take care.
You too.
See you in August.
All right. Yes. Many thanks to Dan, Grant, and Dusty from Rune Sigil for joining me on this episode of Fans with Bands. Since we last talked, these guys have been extremely busy with shows and putting out a new album called Never Odd or Even. It was a lot of fun catching up with the band, talking about the new music, and all the great stuff they have on tap for the rest of this year, which includes a recently dropped video clip on Zeros and Ones Studio, and a new 4-song live EP called Lucid Sonic Dreamscapes, which comes out on August 20th. Plus, you can see them live at FuzzFest, happening at the Blind Pig on Thursday, August 22nd. See the show notes for all the details and links. Bands are nothing without you, the fans. Purchasing music and merchandise is critical to their survival. If you can help out your favorite bands, please do. If you're in Michigan, consider following the Playing in Detroit Area Tonight and SE for Southeast Michigan Music Facebook pages. They are fantastic places for fans and bands to support each other and share our combined love of music. Thank you all so much for listening. Be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast service to get each and every episode of Fans with Bands. Spread the word by rating the show, telling your friends, telling your neighbors, telling your family, telling your priest, tell everyone, and leave a comment. We want to hear what you think. You can keep in touch by following us on social media. This is a Life in Michigan production. Until next time, be well and kick out the jam.